Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club, your number one stop for stellar reviews of volumes, arcs, or stories that us or yourselves choose. You can find us live every Wednesday on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and the replay on all podcast networks. Take a seat, get yourselves and your opinions ready, as it's time to join the herd. But first, please put your hands together for your hosts, Shane, Phil, and Scott, as they kick off this week's discussion.
Ahoy hoy and welcome to the Nerd Herd Comic Book Club. I'm this week's host Shane, and I am joined as always by my very own Umbrella Academy. I have Scott up here.
Hello. Sorry for the voice.
Yes, Scott's not well, so his voice may be a little bit groggy tonight.
So ill.
Poor Scott,
I'm
but he's
putting it on really. But...
soldier on for us, just for us.
Just for you.
And we're joined, of course, by Phil up here in this corner.
Hello. Sorry.
Hello. More menacing than sick.
I was expecting a wahaha at the end of that then.
This week is my pick, and I have chosen the Umbrella Academy Volume 1 Apocalypse Suite from 2007 by Dark Horse Comics. This collects issues 1 to 6 and was written by Gerard Way, with art by Gabriel Ba, colours by Dave Stewart, and letters by Blambot's Nate Picos.
Well done.
Nice.
I'll wait for my well done before I carry on,
job.
just in case I've said anything wrong and I need correcting.
Great job.
But yes, I've picked this because I'm a massive fan of the TV show and I hadn't read the comics first, which is surprising because I normally go the other way around. I normally watch the comic, read the comic and then watch the show, but I've watched the show and then I wanted to read the comic. So a quick synopsis before we meet the herd. This is the origin story of the Umbrella Academy. 30 years ago, 43 children were born to women who were not pregnant previously in that day. They just became pregnant instantly and gave birth without any notice whatsoever. And Reginald Hargreeves, a eccentric millionaire, explorer, philanthropist, alien, has decided he wants to buy as many of these children as he can to create a super team to save the world. He ends up buying 7 of the children. He names them 1 to 7. He wants to keep a personal distance from the children. They try to call him father, but he doesn't accept that. He's just their guardian. So he wants to save the world. So he has these 7 kids and he is using them for a very specific purpose, which he will not disclose to anyone. They each have a separate power. They can each do something unique and something special. Number 5 can teleport, which means he can also jump to the future. And he uses his power to jump way into the future, finds out the world is going to end, and spends the next 50 years trying to get back to save the world. When he does, he's been missing for 20 plus years. Everyone has grown up apart from number 5, and he has to convince them to help him save the world from an unknown threat, all while trying to overcome their childhood traumas from their father, who has passed away and is the reason everyone's come back together and could possibly be the reason the world is going to end. So,
Dun, dun, dun.
Yes, that's the synopsis for Volume 1, I think, in a nutshell, which we will get into deeper when we get to the story points and the writing. First, let's have a quick see in the chat who's we've got. And as always, first in is Liam. Heidi-ho. Hi, Liam. Thanks for joining. I'm assuming you've read along. Liam tends to read along 90% of the time. Someone who I know has definitely read along is Martin from Sonic's Comics. Evening all. Can't wait to hear what Martin has to say about this. We also have Lewis Deacon. Howdy doody. Everyone's got their own catchphrase in the chat. I love it. Howdy doody, Lewis. We have Kevin Wells. Evening, everyone. We normally get an Excelsior from Kevin. Do we not? Oh, no.
From James.
James normally gives us an Excelsior. And Connie, of course, with her catchphrase, sup, nerds?
Sup.
You got to do the chin. Sup.
Sup.
But yes, thank you all for joining. Let's get into initial thoughts, and I want to start with Phil because I quite like your screen name. It seems quite positive this week. There's nothing negative in your screen name, which is Umbrella Corps.
Yeah, but that's from the Resident Evil games, which
Yeah.
I just much prefer that over this rubbish.
Okay, see, I mixed it up. I assumed that you were like assuming this was like the Green Lantern Corps, like a great team of superheroes.
No, that's what could have been, but it wasn't, unfortunately. I you know, whenever there's a TV show or a movie or something, and it's based on the book, everyone always goes, "Oh, but the books are better. The books are better." It's like, okay, grand, but in this case, the books really aren't better. The TV show is far superior than this book. I am a fan of the show myself, the Netflix show, but this is just not up to. It's just this is boring. I find maybe it's because it was quite slow paced at the start, where it's just kind of telling you everything about the characters. Here's their little scene. Here's our character, their little scene, and like I know all this from the show, so it wasn't really telling them anything. And it's a different take on the characters, but again, now it picked up, the pace picked up towards the end. It was fine, but it's just I don't know. I can't praise it anywhere near the show because I'm a fan of the show and I'm not a fan of this. But it's fine. I'll say that it's fine for what it is. Had I read this first, I probably would have enjoyed it a lot more than I did. But you can't help but compare it to the show.
100%. Well, we can find out because Scott has not seen the show.
Yeah.
I have not.
So,
No.
So, Scott, what did you think of this?
It was good fun. Like, at the end of every show, we always play a little video of what's coming up next week. And I think seeing the art in that clip kind of, I don't know, put me on a bit of a bad footing, I guess. It just looked a bit, okay, it's just not the stuff we see normally, and it's a style that we're not used to and we don't see. So, I'm trying to think. I was, once I got into the book and I was, you're used to the style, you get used to it, and I then became happy to read along. It was just a bit, bit jaunty, I think. The story though was interesting. There's a few little open-ended things to answer, maybe in future stories. And yeah, the story as a whole, I thought it was really, just interesting, a bit of fun, a bit quirky, and there was something. Yeah, I'll talk about the pacing later on, but yeah, initially, like, I haven't seen the show, and I'm still interested to see the show. But, I can imagine this is going to be that kind of situation where you are going to go, the books are better than the show, the show's better than the books. So I'm just glad I haven't been, my view hasn't been skewed by one or the other. This is my first interpretation of Umbrella Academy.
Yeah, and I'm glad we have someone on the panel who can give that point of view, because I think I'm very much in the Phil category here. The TV show is far superior, and when we get into the writing, I think that's when we'll be able to express why we think that.
Yeah.
But going back to the art, you said you got used to it. I don't think I did. I was not a fan of this art style. It was just too sharp and too pointy and too cartoony, but
I'm
not in
easy
a
to
fun
please.
cartoony way. You're easy.
I am.
You're
I'm
bloody
I'm
not.
I'm
We have proof you are not easy to please.
Mind management.
Yeah,
is our proof. But I'm the same. I find it very cartoon. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, some pages are actually all right. They're quite nice, but overall the art was a bit too cartoony, and they had big eyes when they didn't need to have big eyes at times. Especially number 5, he had quite big eyes. I just get vibes from what was that book? It's got you like the horror series, The Keys. What's it called?
Lock and Key.
Lock and Key. There was a bit of that in this somehow.
Got that written down.
Yeah,
but I got a few vibes from it.
The art was okay. I think get used to it. It's just I accepted it, I suppose. But It's when I seen same as last week when I seen that video, I was like, oh, that is ugly. I understand art is subjective, people could or objective, whatever.
Yeah.
They
Subjective.
could decide. Subjective, that's the one, thank you. But I couldn't no, it's just not my cup of tea. I wouldn't pick a book off the rack, flick through and go, oh, this looks cool, and buy it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like same. If I had a flick through, I probably wouldn't look at it like, or consider buying it based on that initial look. Like I said, the video we showed last week, the show is coming up. It did make me go, ooh, am I gonna like this? But I think because, we have to read this, it kind of forced me to just go through it, and yeah, I got used to it. This is a quick read. It took me an hour to read, and probably took you guys 4 minutes. But yeah, it was a quick read, and I just took it as it was, I guess. And I feel like I'm doing that a lot lately. I'm just taking things as they are in their stride, and if the story is fine, I will just happily go through.
Yeah, I think picking this up on a shelf, if I flick through it, I'd probably put it back down. But if I was ordering it online and all I saw was the cover and read the synopsis, it's very cheeky because the covers are gorgeous. If you look at the covers for this, they are very night and day compared to what's inside the book.
Yeah.
And I know they have different cover artists than they do interior artists, but I do feel cheated sometimes when you get a book and it has this gorgeous cover and then you open inside and it's like stickmen, and I feel like you just stole my money.
Well, this is what I don't get, right? I just look now at it. I got issue 1 open here. The art is done by Gabriel Ba. The cover is done by Gabriel Ba. And it's like the cover of issue 1, I feel like there's influence from Alex Ross at that point. It looks painted, it looks really nice and brushy and whatever. It's lush, right? And then you go in and you get a completely different style. So what's the deal, man?
Yeah. We will have to get into it when we look at some of our pages, but can I just quickly say hello to a couple who have joined us? We have James has popped in, says, "What up, fam? Thanks for joining." We also have a new name in the chat that's just popped in. Gary McGill. He says, I don't think he agrees with us on the art there. I think he's, which is fair. Everyone has their own opinion on the art, and everyone's entitled to have their opinion on the art because, as we've said, art is subjective. It's just not for us, especially with the amazing. We know this art is now can do great because the covers are fantastic. And I feel like, well, maybe he had more time for the covers than he did for the inside, or maybe that's just his style.
Yeah, I don't know how Dark Horse do their things. Like, are they on a tight schedule? Are they, or is this just his style?
Yeah,
but it's so chalk and cheese between it.
It really is. It's crazy.
Mental. Yeah.
Shall we have a look at some of our pages then? Because we did get a few sent in.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm just changing the mind at the minute, so it could be 2 extra seconds.
We won't start with you then, Phil. We'll start, since I'm hosting, we'll start with mine because I can pick whichever page I want. And we'll start with mine. Yeah, it's my birthday. It can be a fun. So I picked this page, which shows us 5 in the future. I think this is the start of issue 2.
Yeah.
And it's just a wasteland. This is what's happened to the world. You see the newspaper there that says everything's perfect, everything's great, and then the world ends.
Yeah.
And then everything goes to hell. But I like this because the detail is fantastic. Like, you've got Pongo in the front, and then you've got all these people lying there. Well, see, I assumed it was Pogo, but then later in the book we see like a whole street and there are sex worker chimpanzees.
Yeah, you see, just chimpanzees. I feel like it's just a part of the community, I guess.
But Pogo was supposed to be special because Reginald did experimentation on him to make him more intelligent and give him a voice. So that was a bit weird to have those added afterwards. But I just thought this was a good page. I like the detail, like the devastation, and you see what he now, 10-year-old boy is now trapped there all by himself, has to survive this for the next 50 years. I thought it was quite interesting.
It is a great page, and if you weren't actually looking around that page, and you didn't notice the newspaper, and then you didn't notice the same newspaper coming up in issue 5 or 6 at the end to show, right, this is that day, that same day,
Yeah.
and then the Clever Crisp cereal advert you see there, that's a brand owned by their space alien dad. So that's a little, I don't know, a little Easter egg, I guess, for that. But yeah, some cool little bits of detail in that picture as well.
Yeah, it's very clever. Phil, did you put your page up?
Yes, I got it on, hopefully. So it should be good to go.
Let's have a look.
Yeah, because even though I kind of complained about the cartoony style of the art, I quite like this page because of the cartoony style of the art. Like, you
Pop
just-
Hellback.
I know,
Pop Hellback.
yeah, exactly. But just you can kind of tell, like, you know, if this is like a Cartoon Network show, this is what you would expect here almost. I just quite like this guy in the moon, get the space stars, and he's just kind of jetpacking off as we, whatever, crater. And yeah, again, the cartoony style is a bit odd to have throughout the whole book, but it had its moments. I thought this is one too.
Yeah.
When he's standing there proud as punch as well, chest stuck out, as his duty on the moon to do. But yeah, the art's it's not my taste, but there was a few moments that I liked. This is one of them.
Yeah.
It's a good page.
Few questions about Luther, Space Boy.
Yeah.
I don't think I want you to answer them. If it is like in the show,
Then don't ask.
But look, I've got to ask these questions, right? But if you can't answer it based on what is in the book, I don't want to know. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Why is he in a big monkey suit?
He was injured. They had the newspaper that said number 1 injured. Reginald Hargreeves saves his life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Done. Thank you. And the other thing I just couldn't help but notice, I don't know if it's just me and the kind of shows I watched growing up, but sometimes every time I look, sometimes when I looked at Luther, I could think of only Earthworm Jim.
Yeah. Big body, small head.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the time I was like, this guy's just Earthworm Jim. And I'm here for it. But yeah, cool page.
Yes. How about your page, Scott? Which one did you pick?
I picked the very first page. What a weird way to start. You know, you got this mental like wrestler elbow dropping this giant space squid. But then, you know, it draws you in straight away. There's your hook. You know, usually we have a whole issue as a hook. But page 1, I was like, okay, this is weird. I'm in. But then the next page says, like, you know, at the very same moment that this squid was elbowed in the face and killed, those 43 kids were born. So I'm like, what the hell? What's the link, man? Is it, you know, part of me thinks this squid is actually just the horror, because he has the kind of squiddy thing that's comes out his belly. Like, is it just the horror? But I don't know. Like, you know, but this is before the kids were born, and there's I know there's time travel involved, and I don't know. Or maybe I'm just thinking completely too much into it, and we should just accept that a wrestling match with a space squid happened, and it was just coincidental that these 43 children were born. So I picked this page because it's page 1. You know, initially you don't really think anything of it. You go, oh, okay, this is kind of weird. I'll go with the story. But then after you read the book and then go back to this page, it brings up these questions, and I kind of appreciate that. I may be totally wrong, totally out there, but it's given me those questions and food for thought. So I wanted to pay homage to this first page.
And as per usual, every single week, my page is picked before I get a chance, because that was also my first pick. But I logged in late, so I couldn't get it on the StreamYard. So.
That'll teach you. Got to get first in. First in gets first dibs of the pages. We know how it works. We've been doing it long enough now.
Come on, man.
I know.
Liam sent a page in.
Oh, stand by.
Sent this one in. Did he send in a reason for
did.
this? This is Klaus stopping a huge chunk of the moon from crushing everyone.
Yeah. So he says, Klaus, a drug user and the joke of the family, can see and talk to the dead, and oh yeah, stop freaking meteors with telekinesis. Such an epic moment from such an unexpected source.
Very true.
Yeah, it was surprising. At first, I didn't really know what was going on, but then I did. I was like, what the hell is the hello thing to do? But that's because of his talking to the dead type of thing.
He has hello and goodbye on his hands.
Yeah, I think it's just, anything with superpowers, we're so used to reading things about characters only having one power, and if there are other abilities, it's linked to that power. So talking to the dead and having telekinesis don't really match. So
no, I feel like his telekinesis should have been the ghosts moving things.
Yeah.
Like him controlling the ghosts to move things. Like, had he gone like that and then 50 ghosts had appeared and were holding it up, it would make more sense. But for him to have telekinesis, it's just like, oh, and by the way, he can move things with his mind. I feel like that was just,
man. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they just wanted him to have an active power as well as a passive one.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird. Next, Martin sent a page in.
Did.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, Vanya, you cow.
So Martin just said for this one, this is the page where Pogo is getting his brains blown out, essentially. He says, I couldn't help myself. I had to pick this page. I just love the detail that was put into Pogo's death scene. And that's that.
Yeah. It was sad.
See, do you know why I don't like gore usually in my comics? This was okay. This level of gore.
Yeah.
Because I think Liam hit the nail on the head last week when he said it's context. Like, obviously this was done in a certain type of way, not like husband murdering his wife kind of way. So that's okay. I like that. That's a good page.
It's a well done page. I wouldn't say it's a good page because it's a horrible page, but it's a well done page.
See, this is the problem I have, and we'll get to this later on. I didn't feel anything for any of the characters whatsoever.
Yeah,
we'll get to that.
I agree.
Kevin sent a page in.
He did. Kevin says, short and sweet as usual. I'm going to be honest. I only picked this page for the chimp detectives. And that's it.
Oh, yeah.
Got a few little chimps walking around, working for the police, getting evidence, I assume. It's quite.
It was
quite
a cool scene in the book as well, though. It was a cool scene.
Yeah.
Connie sent a page in.
She did. Honestly, I just really like the colors and the drama. The drama was put in those sparkly emojis, and the drama.
Vanya's transformation into the white violin.
Yeah. Mad.
Yeah. The colors look great in that bottom panel with the music notes, and it looks very cool.
That's great.
Yeah. There are some really good pages. It's just the art for me overall is not like something I would go out and look for. Just catching up on some comments really quickly before we move on. Connie says, like, the story would have been perfectly fine without the weird brother-sister romance element. It was an odd choice to include. She's talking about Alison and Luther.
Yeah.
Yes, I think because Liam, they're talking about this in the chat. Liam says it reinforces the dysfunctionality of their family. And I think it was a bit out of the blue. But if you read on, I assume it will be flushed out a bit more because they weren't really raised as siblings. Hargrave didn't raise them as his children, did he? Raised them as weapons in a war. But growing up from birth with someone, it's still a little bit weird, isn't it? I mean,
yeah. And again, I think the TV show done that better. Again, it's another kind of trope they've done far better in the TV show. But we're going to talk about that. The comic.
Yeah, so let's move on then to the story and the writing. Scott, are you okay to go, or do you need to rest your throat?
No, okay. I'm so good. No, it's fine. So one of the things I noticed was how quick this was to read. Phil, you mentioned the pacing towards like the last half of the book. I just felt like it was quick to read all the way throughout. And I'm assuming this is Gerard Way's first book ever written. Comic, that kind of thing. I'm
Not sure.
assuming. And it just made me think and feel, if I was ever going to write a book, this is the kind of pace and length it would be at for my first time. Like, you could tell it's not the most experienced type of writing. And, you know, obviously I don't mean any disrespect or whatever with that. But yeah, it was just quick paced. And I was just confused. Like, did this only get recognized for a TV show because it's Gerard Way, you know, lead singer of My Chemical Romance? And is that why it went to become a TV show? Because I'm trying not to sound mean. This isn't the best book we've read, you know, and I think everyone can say that. But it was a fun book, an enjoyable book. But there have been far more, you know, personally more interesting stories, more like deeper emotional writing that I think deserve a TV show, deserve a film. But then I just don't know how this jumped the queue. That's what
I know
I'm
you're
trying to
coming
say.
from, but I do think there's probably an element to the fact that this, being Gerard Way, knows the right people, or knows somebody who knows somebody. And he's just asked the question, you know, I'm writing this book. Because most indie books, people who own the IPs, they do try and push their stuff onto, onto Netflix and whatever else anyway. Try and pitch the ideas. So he just, being within the showbiz life, he must know somebody. So maybe there's an element of that he had the better opportunity. But again, the show's great on its own merit.
Right.
But I know what you're trying to say. I don't think this would be the standout book that if you had a dozen comic IPs on your table and you had to pick one for a show on Netflix, I can't see this being the standout, like the number one you would pick.
Do you think
unless the other 11 are really bad?
Or they needed a superhero book. They needed a superhero team book. They had, you know, what did they have to pick from? They can't have a Marvel or a DC. They have to do something completely different. And you don't really get many superhero indie titles, especially team books. And maybe, you know, if a writer saw this and was like, this has potential, I think potential is the key word, because, and without spoiling the TV show, I'm not going to say anything about the TV show, but this is series 1 of the TV show. But they have taken everything that is not needed in this book out, and they have added everything that is needed in.
Right.
I was going to say, is it just
one episode then?
No, they have added the emotion that you need to care about the characters. They've added the reasoning behind everything, behind why they are the way they are, you know, and it feels so much more flushed out, even though it is the same story. It's pretty much the same story. Like, I was waiting for beats to happen that I knew were coming because I've seen the show. I mean, I don't know if you're with me here, Phil, but I was waiting for Hazel and Cha-Cha to show up, and I was kind of disappointed that they weren't in it.
Yeah, I was myself. Again, not go too much into who they are in the show, but I was surprised they weren't, and the handler and all that kind of stuff, which I'm assuming is going to come much later on. But that's one of the issues I have, that for this 6 issues, and there's still so much to go, but yet we didn't really get a lot. There wasn't a lot of character building. There wasn't a lot of, like you mentioned, emotion. Like, it's just like they didn't spend time to flesh it out to make the reader care about the characters at all. And it's, I suppose it's not a bad thing. Like, it's maybe has, I'm not sure. So I take it Umbrella Academy has finished. The comics are finished, aren't they?
No, there are still some spin-offs going on.
Okay, is
like
Gerard
recently?
Way, is he the one? Is he the writer? Do you know?
I don't know. I can find out.
Yeah. So maybe he just had a bigger story overall. He's trying to flesh it out as best he can, and this is the introduction.
So the latest thing he did for like the Tales from the Umbrella Academy series, that was 2021. That's when that ended. A little mini series. So
Kevin says this won an Eisner Award.
I know I'm looking that up as well. Yeah.
No,
I'm very surprised at that. No disrespect, but this is
Yeah.
not an Eisner Award winning
It
book,
did.
in my opinion.
for
It
what
won,
category?
2008 for best finite series / limited series.
Oh, okay.
I'd like to
Because
know
overall it might be really good then.
What year?
2008. I'd like to know what he was up against.
Yeah, me too. Because just,
I mean, this suffers quite a bit from tell don't show, which is one of my biggest pet peeves in visual medium. TV shows, movies, and comic books are visual media, so you need to show, don't tell. And when you're constantly just bombarding me with information and telling me why I should care about a character instead of showing me, I subconsciously fight back against that. So I care less for the character because you've told me that they're so great because of this, that, and this, but you didn't show me. And you know, you're not supposed to feel anything when Reg dies. Reginald Hargreeves, he's a horrible person, but you're supposed to feel something when the kids come back together and start talking to each other about how, you know, broken each of them are. But it just doesn't come across. And like when the mother shows up at the funeral and Diego whips her cape off and she's a robot underneath, you're supposed to have some emotional feeling there, and I just don't think it portrayed that very well.
I didn't feel anything really. You know, it was fun and enjoyable, but emotional, no. It was too fast. It was too quick a read, and there wasn't enough to get me invested into the characters as well.
like, again, I don't want to compare the two because it seems like we shouldn't, but we have to because they both do exist, you know. But likes of Klaus, like he's great on the show. Allison
fantastic.
and what's his name again? What's number one's
Luther?
name? Luther. Like their relationship, it's not great on the show, but it's very much more fleshed out and beefed out than this. I don't know. I just find, I don't know. It's just felt empty, I suppose.
I think, especially like because in the show, like no spoilers, but just in the show, Diego is a lot more broken from his time as being a child than he is in this book. Like, you know, he's still like, you know, set off to, he doesn't care if he gets shot or stabbed or blown up, he doesn't care about any of that. But in the TV show, he loves his mother, like even though it's a robot. But in this, he was very just dismissive of her. So like they've changed every single character. But I mean, 5, I was looking forward to the scene in the diner because when that came, I obviously knew from the TV show that it was coming. And 5 is my favorite character in the show. And I was expecting him to be as cheeky and as like headstrong and as decisive and bossy as he is. And he's just not. He's just acting like a 10-year-old boy in this again.
Again, he just felt very empty. There wasn't a lot to him. And you're right, they couldn't get quite the humor quite right with him in the book.
And Vonya's turn to the dark side was just like bang, instant. There was no build up to that. Like, all right, she didn't like her family. She wrote a book about her not having any powers, and she shows up to help the family at the end, and they're like, "Go away, you're not special." And she's like, "Fine, I'm going to destroy the world." And it's like, whoa, that was a bit harsh.
Do you want to know the other nominations for that Best Limited?
Yes.
In 2008 for the Eisner Awards, we had Atomic Robo by Brian Clevenger by Red 5 Comics, Dark Tower, The Gunslinger Born by Peter David for Marvel, Nightly News by Jonathan Hickman, Image Comics, Parade by Michael Cavallaro, Shadowline / Image Comics, and then The Umbrella Academy. So there we go.
Peter David.
and Jonathan Hickman.
Peter David's like my all-time favorite writer.
I know. I thought you'd bring that up. 5 was my favorite as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But
what a cool power, and a scary power. You know,
cool
you can jump forward in time but never back. It's like, oh gosh,
you know, and the fact that he had to work out time travel to be able to go back. You know, it was quite cool. It was a very quick scene. You know, not a lot of explanation going on, but it was cool, and you know, it interesting to see that the only way he could go back was to actually invent time travel.
Just to show his dad that he can do it, because his dad told him he can't.
Yeah. But I love time travel. I do. But again, one of my mental theories, and I'd like you to not spoil it if I'm correct or wrong. There was one particular panel where 5 wears a monocle.
Mhm.
I'm now wondering, is the time travel, used in such a way that 5 is actually the dad that adopts all of the 7 kids down the line? I was like, why? What's the point of putting a monocle on unless it means something for no reason? So that's what I thought.
Well, you told us not to reply
I
when
know,
we were right
I
or
know.
wrong, so you just told us to not say a
No.
word. So,
Yeah.
interesting
Okay.
theory. You'll have to wait to see if it's correct.
Thank you. Yeah.
Can we say a quick hello to a newcomer? We have Andy Price, who says Pogo's demise was totes emosh. It was totes emosh.
The perfect way to write that as well. Totes emotion. Yeah.
Again, I'm not too sure I felt anything for that. I had a nice moment with Vanya, Pogo, but other than that, maybe it's just that they could have used them through the whole storyline, had him there, like have him be like a forever character in this, in all the future volumes, or whatever. But I didn't really care that he died.
I think you feel it more in the TV show, don't you? It's
Even then,
I suppose because it's live action and you're seeing his face and his eyes and stuff, so it's more emotional when you can visualize that as opposed to a drawing. But yeah, he just wasn't used enough. I mean, Pogo is a big part of the TV show.
this is another thing I was going to bring up, and I hate comparing the two. I feel like Scott's going to miss out on a lot of the stuff we're talking about. But
Yeah,
Pogo
that's all right. I don't mind not talking today. It's fine.
he had a pretty big, I'll say, backstory in the TV show, and had a pretty big part in, like, how do you put this without spoiling anything, like distrust amongst the children type of thing, didn't he? So again, it made his death in the show all a bit more emotional than this. This is just I don't know if I cared enough for it.
I think, again, like, because I say this is season 1, so it's not spoilers, because what happens in this book happens in the TV show. They just changed the way it happens and stuff. And I do think as well, the way Vanya uses her powers to stop the rumor from talking, that is done amazingly well in the TV show. Like, it is a slow build. It's just this emotional scene, and it's just done in this terrifyingly sad way. And in this, it was just like, nope, stop talking. And she just, cuts her sister's throat so she can't whisper, I heard a rumor. And it was just like, it's such a shame when you see the potential. Like, that's going to be my key word for this book, potential, because obviously the writers of the TV show saw it. And I am a massive fan of the show. And I think the writers took the fantastic ideas that are here, because this is a perfect base. He's given you everything you need. He's given you the characters, the world, and then from there you just build on top of that.
The fact that you're saying this is a good foundation for an even better TV show just makes me think, why am I reading this? I may as well just go and watch the show.
You should. You really should.
I didn't know. I've never read it, so if I'd have known, I wouldn't have chosen it. I'd pick something else.
I know, but you chose it because of how well writers adapted this book, and you don't really usually see it go that way. It either stays on par with the book or it dips. I can't, there probably is another example, but I can't think of an example where someone's taken the source material and improved it.
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like, that's what you've made it sound like. Yeah. I'm surprised, to be honest.
Which then kind of makes me wonder then, as you mentioned about this being a standout book, that there must have been some sort of persuasion or, mates within the industry or something, how this got chosen, because they have really improved. The show is really superior to this. Like, they've really improved it, where it's like you mentioned, usually the other way around.
Like, we've read Eisner Award-winning books or Eisner-nominated stuff,
Yeah.
I can't put this in the same category as any of those. Like, you know, like
No, like
I think
Harlequin
once-
Mad Love was an Eisner
yeah,
award.
Once in Future, Monstrous.
Snot Girl.
I wish, man. You know, yeah, we've read Eisner stuff. I hate how I'm sounding with this. This isn't Eisner worthy.
You sound like an Eisner snob.
Mate,
This is
I
not
love
up to my
Eisner
level.
stuff. I love Eisner stuff. I don't know. This, I think my score's going to be lower, to be honest, than what I anticipated at the start. This chat hasn't been the most positive. I'll give you that.
I don't mean to be so negative because I love the show. Obviously,
Yeah, I
that's
get
why
it.
I picked the book. So I please don't think I'm ragging on the concept and the writer and the artist. It's just I love the show so much, and I think if I'd read it, if I'd done it the other way around, maybe I would have liked the book more because I then would have watched the TV show and then been like, oh, this happened in the comic. This happened in the comic. But this way round, I'm like, that's not how that's supposed to go. That's not how that should happen. So I think I spoiled it for myself, but it happens, doesn't it? So favorite character then in the book?
5.
Yeah,
Scott?
5.
5 or 5's all round.
Mate.
Yeah.
He was cool, man. I love time travel. You know this. Phil likes pink and purple. I like time travel.
Get some pink and purple time travel, and we've got a 10 out of 10 book.
Yes. He was cool. I didn't. Who was the really moody one?
Klaus.
Oh no,
Jones.
Diego.
Okay.
What was his hero name?
Kraken.
The Kraken.
Yeah, the Kraken. Yeah, I didn't get him. I wasn't bothered about him. He was just moody all the time.
Can't he like Klaus?
Klaus is my favorite he's my favorite in the show. Sean or something. He's my favorite in the show, but again, he has a whole big thing to go through on the show. And
Seance.
Yeah, is that what it is? I just call him Sean C.
Sean C.
Seance,
man. There we go.
You can speak to ghosts, in it. Seance, isn't it?
But his true kind of special power hasn't really been what's the word? You don't know it all yet, type of thing. There's more
to be revealed.
Should be.
Like, Diego didn't use his powers very well. He has, he kind of did. Like, he has perfect accuracy and can guide projectiles. So, like, if he throws a knife, and a person sidesteps while that knife is in flight, he can move the knife.
Cool.
Like, it's not telekinesis because it only works with projectiles. It's weird. It's a weird power. So I don't know. Like,
yeah. All right.
One of my favorite powers though is Alison with her rumor power, that she can actually alter reality with her rumor.
That's cool.
So if you read the trade, there's a couple of like short stories in the back, and one of the stories in the back, she tells a lie. She says that she's studying at a library. Well, she says, I heard a rumor that I was studying at the library, but really she was off doing something else and she didn't want anyone to know. But so her rumor manifested a second Alison that was identical to her in every single way.
Wow.
So she actually can alter all of reality with her words, which is really cool.
Wow, that is mad.
I think the way we were described it, like this is like the launch pad of something more. And I think with indie books, this quite happens a lot with the first volume of a book. They're just giving you the kind of the foundation of what's to come. But usually, like you talk about the term the hook. There wasn't enough of a hook for this book, I don't think. And judging by Scott's kind of, as he's mentioned, like he's going to score less than he was initially thinking.
My interpretation?
Yeah, interpretation. I just think that you realise now that what is the hook? You know, like
it should have been 43 children were born on the same day without any warning, and they all had superpowers. That should have been the hook, but it's just mentioned, and that's it. It's not explored. It's not. They don't tell you why. Nothing else is mentioned about it. You don't see any of the other kids. Like, there could have been maybe one of the bad guys they were fighting could have been one of the kids. You know, they could have had someone else with superpowers who was a bad guy. They could have brought a couple of them in, or a bad team. Someone else could have grabbed some of them. You know, like they didn't mention anything about the other 35 children. Well, apart from some of them were killed, and
They just didn't survive, did they? It was only the 7 that survived. That's what it says at the start.
yeah, they're not all dead. It says some of them, not all of them survive. It says, but he only managed to get 7, so they don't know what happened to the rest. So they could have been some supervillains or something. But I think it's just so to separate my brain from the TV show to this. It's like when you read the volume 1 of something that you've read volumes 2 and 3 of, when you know what's to come, and you try to just talk about that volume 1. But yeah, it's Liam says he didn't like any of the characters. So I didn't really like any of the characters in the book. None of them had any personality.
They
And
didn't.
I think that's fair.
Even Vanya, like the fact that she's driven and agree to do what she did, and like it's not really explained apart from she's feeling a bit moody because she feels useless. That's no reason to kind of want to kill your family.
Yeah, so they don't explain. So he says he found Reginald Hargreeves' notebook, and in it describes that Vanya has powers and she's the most powerful one of the Umbrella Academy. But we don't see anything about that. Like, we know she's popping those pills. We could have had a flashback to her dad giving her the pills as a child to suppress her powers.
Yep.
You know, and because she's so dangerous, we could have seen her do something. Maybe when she was 2 or 3 years old, you know, and they're all toddlers running around, she uses her powers and nearly kills everyone in the house. So that's why he puts her on the pills and then constantly tells her, you're not extraordinary, you're not special. But it was just done. It was just like, yep, stop taking the pills. Here's your powers. Go destroy the world. And she was like, sounds good.
Okay. Yeah. Just took the power trip, innit?
Yeah, too quickly, with no
everything.
build-up whatsoever.
Yeah.
I would suggest, if anyone is interested by this, to watch the Netflix show. It is far superior. It flushes everything out, but it has this exact story in it, so you're not missing out. It is this story,
but better,
but much better. Yes.
I think I will get into it. Maybe I'll if I got time on the weekend, I'll watch a few.
Yes.
It's a really, like, most shows people often talk about binge it, but the actual Umbrella Academy thing's a really good binge show. Whole weekend, just get it all in. It's really, really good.
See, this is weird. Just this situation, like this doesn't happen. People don't go. Don't read the books. The show is better. People always go. Don't watch the show. The book is better.
Yeah.
The film, don't watch the film. The book is better. But it's just weird. I can't think of a situation I've ever been in before that is where it's this way around.
No, it's so weird.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of my score.
Yeah, I have my notes. I have like 2 pages of notes, but I didn't write a score. I was waiting for this discussion to give me a score. It's quite hard. Final note, I will just say the actor that plays Luther is very handsome as well in the show. If you like pretty things to look at, he's got a monkey body, but he's got a great head.
The first time I ever saw him was in a show called Black Sails, and he has got the biggest arms I've ever seen. But yeah,
now
anyway,
imagine him under like a body suit with even bigger arms. Like he is like hench. He is like that.
He was in Hollyoaks, wasn't he?
Was he?
I never watched Hollyoaks.
I'm pretty certain he's English, and I know that. I think I'm pretty certain he was on Hollyoaks or Brookside or
something like that.
Doctors or something UK show. Yeah.
Connie wants to know who plays him. His name is Tom Hopper.
Hobby.
Cool.
Tom Hopper. Pop to IMDb and have a look. Have a gander.
Nice.
But yes, before we jump to our scores, Kevin says that he thinks The Boys, the TV show, is better than the book, and the book's first. So there's another one that it could have. We'll find out because we'll be reading The Boys in a few months.
Oh, spoilers.
Yeah, nice. Debut.
Oh no, spoilers. Whoops. Sorry. Shall we get to our final thoughts and scores?
Yeah, let's go.
If you've read along in the chat, don't forget to pop your score in so we can add it to ours. Phil, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, so I had a score in mind, but again, as we've said before, sometimes the way the conversation goes on the night, you feel like you want to increase it or decrease it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I want to decrease it because it's led to quite a negative conversation in a way. Like, I don't know if there's too much stand out about this book in general. Like, listen, it's a fine story. It introduces the characters, tells you who they are, what kind of power set they have, you know, lays it all out for you, but doesn't really deliver anything, I think, overly exciting. The art is, again, it's fine. It's very cartoony, but it's not something, again, I mentioned before. If you pick this off the shelf and had a flick through it, looking to buy a comic book, you wouldn't buy it off the art. You just it doesn't appeal to me. It's not my kind of style. I would normally go for. I read the first 3 issues last night and I stopped because I was bored. If I'm being honest, I couldn't read anymore. I put it down, and then even all day today, I didn't get to it until like 7:30 tonight, and read the last 3 issues in like 15-20 minutes. So it's super quick. It's nice and breezy that way, but at the same time, I did stop, not because it was hard, just because I was bored. I was going to have a 6, but I think I want to knock it off. It's just a tad and go down to a 5.5, I think. And I don't know why. I think it's because it's led us down this way to have like a more negative conversation. And the show is far superior. So don't read this book. Go watch the show and enjoy that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Scott.
It's really interesting because I haven't watched the show, and I feel like I'm on the same wavelength as the two of you. The story and the premise was interesting, but then I had no emotional attachment to the characters. You know, I was enjoying what was going on and seeing, but I think with something like this, you need, especially with such a big group of characters, you're going to get introduced to straight away. I still can't remember their names. There's too many. I had no attachment to them because there was too many opportunities for lines to fill for each character to make sure they get a bit of time in the book. I think there was just a bit too many. You know, they either should have had less characters or they should have had more issues to kind of flesh all that out. But I don't think this is Eisner appropriate. But I don't know. It just didn't go off. It hasn't stood out to me. Everything was just too fast. The pacing was too fast. Everything was read too quick. There wasn't enough dialogue. There wasn't enough narration. That kind of thing. There just wasn't enough. But I enjoyed the concept. But yeah, the reason why I said it's really interesting at the start was because I'm also matching Phil's score with a 5.5, and I've gone down. I was going to give it a 6.5, but it's just gone down.
Gone down a whole point.
Down a whole point. I'm not. It's so weird. I just feel really weird about this whole thing. Yeah, there we go. I'll stop there. 5.5.
Okay. We've had some scores in the chat, if you can just take a note of those.
Yeah, all good.
So, I mean, I went into this with really high expectations, and it's the first book in a while I have. Normally I go in flatline, you know, I don't do any research on a book. I don't know what the book is about. I like to go in blind and just enjoy it for what it is. But because I'm a massive fan of the show, I went into this up here, and then by the last page I was in Australia. I was gutted. I was really disappointed because that emotional punch just wasn't there for anything that happened throughout the book. There was characters I didn't care about, like the bad guy with his death robots, like just so they could have a fight scene in an amusement park. It was just like meh. I didn't need that. The Paris scene at the beginning, I didn't need that. If you're not going to tell me about the characters, like if you're going to give me a flashback, show me how Ben died.
Mhm.
You know, you have
Yeah.
Ben, you mention him, we see him as a kid, then nothing as an adult. It's just no mention of him at all. So I was disappointed. The art is not great, but the covers are fantastic. So the artist
Yeah.
is capable. Proper capable artist, just has a different style for his actual comic books, which is a choice.
Fine.
But I had a 6.5 as well, but after this chat I'm going down to a 6.
6. Okay.
Yes, unfortunately.
So do you want to go through the scores?
Yep, let's go through and see what everyone has scored it. Connie has scored it a 6.5. So I'm going to give this 6.5. It was fine. Nothing to write home about. I think that's the highest score so far out of the four of us. Triple G says it's average for me. Gives it a 6. Thanks, Pete. Kevin has given it a 6 as well.
6.
Andy Price says, I enjoyed it, although I now think I'm wrong. No, you're not wrong. If you enjoy it, it's right. Everyone should enjoy the books they're reading. He says, I was thinking 7 out of 10. He also hasn't been tainted by seeing the show. So that's a good thing. So that's a score just based on the book. So there's another true score, just like yours, Scott. Liam says, so I thought I enjoyed this, but the talk has made me realize that my enjoyment came from comparing it to the show. It's a foundation and nothing more, unfortunately. Didn't like the art. It's a 5. So Liam has given it a 5. Martin says, I did enjoy this, but the show has really impacted the way I've read it. I just couldn't separate the book from the show, as I know and love these characters already. It's a 7 from me. It's a nice high score there. 7. So
Yeah,
2
yeah.
7s. Okay.
I'm
so
just
we've gone
gasping
from
at the
5.5
Herd's choice
up
that just
to
came in.
7.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll get to those in a
That's all,
minute.
yeah.
Let's just
So with all of your scores in, that gives you the herd an average of 6.3. Adding that onto Phil's 5.5, Shane's 6, and my 5.5, we get an average of 5.8. There we go.
okay.
Where does it come on the leaderboard? Let's check the top 10. Top 10 is getting a bit harder now. Our lowest score on the top 10 is 7 out of 10 with joint Middle West Book 2 and Oblivion Song Chapter 1. So it goes to the Overflow leaderboard. 5.8 brings it to joint 14th place with He-Man.
Another of my picks.
Another one of Shane's picks. Yeah. So there we go. So 14th place, 5.8.
I think that's fair.
Shane?
I think 5.8
Yeah.
is pretty fair. So yes, thank you all. I appreciate that. I really am sorry that I put you through that. Next week is Herd's Choice. So if you'd like to pick a book for us to read next week, Phil doesn't want to read a book next week. He's gone. He's decided here Umbrella Academy has broken him and he no longer wishes to contribute to the
He's
channel.
just disappeared.
If you have a choice for us to pick next week, if you have a book you'd like us to read next week, just pop it in the chat. We'll add it to a wheel. And if your choice is picked, you will get some swag sent to you. You'll get a notebook, a bookmark, and a sticker with the Nerd Herd branding on, all sent to you, so you can keep track of your scores and the books that we read. So how many do we have so far? Let's go through them and see what we have. For the Herd's Choice, we have The Nice House on the Lake from Liam.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I've seen the cover to that. I've not read any synopsis, so that would be a complete blind book for me. The Herd Choice from Martin is Batman TMNT. Nice bit of
Great.
Batman and the Turtles there. We Live from Pete. I don't know that one.
It's good.
Mhm.
Is that
Phil and
that's
I
good?
have read that, yeah.
Okay, it's good. James Copley, his Her choice is The Texas Blood.
Nice.
I like the sound of that one.
Yeah.
Connie's is Public Domain.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin says his Her choice is Five Ghosts. Oh, He's had it in his
Not heard of that one.
comicsology for over a year and he still hasn't read it. The Five Ghosts is fantastic. Oh my God. What an amazing premise for a book.
Let's hope it lands on that then. So we got 6 entries.
I've already read it.
Everyone's in. Let's get up on screen there. Okay, the customary 5 shuffles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll get it on full screen. And here we go. Good luck.
So Liam is going for 3 wins in a row.
He's going for 3 in a row, yeah. Oh,
yes.
Batman book.
Here we go. Martin has won with his choice, Batman cross TMNT. Shane is very excited. That's awesome. That's great. Really pleased with that. Martin, you've already got swag. So we'll...
but he's entitled to more if he would like.
You can have more if you want. Yeah, let us know. And you also have the choice to join us next week, and we're sure we already know your answer. Come on, there we go.
Yes.
Back to you, Shane.
So next week we're reading Batman meets the TMNT in a super fun crossover. Everyone's going to love it. It's going to be so much fun. And Scott, I think it's been long enough since we've done a Batman book that you'll be all right with this.
Oh yeah, I'm okay with this. Yeah.
You've had a break. You've had your complimentary months off from Batman, so you should be all right with the Batman book again. Looking forward to that. So before we go, we do have something coming up tomorrow on the Nerd Herd channel. We have Kev's Draw Along. And tomorrow Kev is going to be showing us how to draw a laser blaster.
Cool.
To go with all the amazing drawings he's already shown us how to do. So pretty soon we should be able to draw our own entire comic book.
Easy. With
the videos that Kev has shown us how to do.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, we need to do a Nerd Herd comic book at some point with all of us starring in it.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a few pages, we have to do all the drawings from Kev's draw-alongs.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That would be quite fun.
Yeah.
But yes, so that was the Nerd Herd for this week. It was my pick, the Umbrella Academy. Next week is Batman vs TMNT. It's not verse, it's just slash. I always put a verse between my books every single time because that's the one you want. So there's nothing left to do now but say goodbye and get your waves out.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone. Love you.